Okay, so hello there and welcome back to my channel, and this is part 2 of the book blanket vlog. So this is books 3 and 4 of the year, which is Jenny Colgan, The Christmas Bookshop. I apologise that it's Christmassy. And Diddley Squat, Home to Roost by Jeremy Clarkson. So I'm going to start with The Christmas Bookshop, but I'm going to start by actually talking about what I'm using to do my crocheting blanket. So the idea behind the crocheting blanket was to use up the yarn that I've been holding on to for a while, because I want to use the corner for something else. So the idea is that I want to clear out my crafting corner and put a desk in there so that I've got somewhere where I can set stuff up, like sewing, and when I want to use my Cricut or when I want to do videos, and I can just work without having to set it up every single time and making my front room look like a bomb's hit it every time I do any kind of setting up. So that's my main motivation, apart from the fact that I just think it would be so beautiful to have a blanket that reflects my reading year. It's something I've not done before, so you know, it's a good thing on that front. And also I'm quite new to this crocheting stuff as well, so it's quite nice to be able to practice and learn as I go. So the basic pattern that I'm using is a basic granny square pattern. I will link the video that I followed by Bello Coco below. And the hook that I'm using is a 4mm hook, which I bought on Etsy. I don't think that person sells them anymore, but I will have a look, and if I can find their store again, I will link them below, because they had loads of beautiful crochet hooks. So on to the books. So I apologise, this is going to be the last Christmas one for the moment. It's because I started it in December and finished it in January. So this is the Christmas Bookshop, and this is focused around Carmen, who is working in a department store it's all based in Scotland. I do love the Jenny Colgan books because they're all based in Scotland. I very much like her Muir series, which is the ones that are based on a little island. I'm a little bit behind on those ones, so I will be catching up on those this year because I have missed them. But I do love the fact that they're based in Scotland. So Carmen, who works in a department store, loses her job because the department store closes and goes out of business. And in the small town where they are, it's very hard to find jobs, and trying to find another job when there's all these other colleagues of hers from the department store that are also looking for work, it's very difficult. So her mother suggests that maybe she should go and live with Sophia, who is her sister. And her sister is the high flyer. She's got the law degree, she's gone off, she's got married, she's had children. You know, she's almost like she was almost put on a pedestal because she's, you know, been really successful. I say it depends on how you mark success, but you know, well, that's a discussion for another day. But she's seen as the really successful one, and Carmen thinks that she's the favourite as well, so they don't get on all that well. But Sophia has a client in her law firm who owns a cute little bookshop which is going under, and they want to try and rescue it and make it better so that he can either keep it in the new year or he can sell it so he can make money and retire. So Carmen goes and works in this bookstore, and it's cute, it's little, but unfortunately the chap that's running it is running it like a library, and the problem is that you can't run a bookshop like a library. It's got to make money. So Carmen tries her best to save it. You know, they decorate it for Christmas, they have Christmas story times. It's all really beautiful, and they start getting a few more customers coming in the door, which is amazing. And one of those, they also have an author event with a very popular author who Carmen has a crush on for a little while. But also, so does the au pair. So it's all a little bit awkward from that direction as well. But it does bring in an awful lot of business for the bookshop. But she also meets a doctor, so like an educational doctor rather than a medical doctor, who teaches, I can't remember what he teaches, but he lectures at the local university. and they end up spending more and more time together. He finds her quite interesting, and she's quite interested in whether he's a student to begin with, because she doesn't realise that he's actually the lecturer. So all in all, it was a really good book. There is a second one, but I'm not going to read it until we get back round to December again, because I'm not a fan of reading Christmassy books in January, because January's a bit meh anyway, so it's almost like once December's done, I'm kind of almost done with the Christmas books. So yeah, that one will have to wait until, I was going to say next year, but no, the latter part of this year now. But yeah, it'll have to wait till then. So a little bit of information about the square and the colours that I've chosen. So the middle part of the square is the lightish blue from the middle of the book. This one took me a while to get around to crocheting, because I was trying to find the right coloured blue, and I've got 5 boxes of yarn to go through. It took me a while to find those colours, because I was trying to find a royal blue and I just didn't have one. So I'm almost like, I'm not going to go and buy some yarn if there's something in here that will work, because at the end of the day, you know, the idea is to be using stuff up rather than buying more and adding to the collection. I'm not adverse to doing it, but the idea is that I try not to. And there was probably other colours, which there were, that kind of works to the same thing. So that's what I did in the end. So I found a lightish blue for the middle of the book, and then I found a yellowy gold, which is for the Jenny Colgan letters are in gold, and there are lights on the outside of the bookshop on the front. This is not the greatest cover in the world, but you know, the American covers are much better, but I kind of want to stick with the English covers as much as I can, or the covers that I'm reading. So on to Jeremy Clarkson. So I've not read I never really watched Top Gear either. I ended up starting to watch Clarkson's Farm rather, when I was going through a bad patch a few years ago, and it was just easy watching, and it was just so funny. And I want to say the cast of characters, but I know it's real life, but the other characters that you see in the daily life of farming is just really interesting and really funny. So I'm not really a big fan of Jeremy Clarkson, but you know, I absolutely adore Clarkson's Farm, and it's the one thing that I can watch over and over and over again. I don't, but I could, just if I want background noise or something like that, because there's always something funny going on, and it's always a good bit of a laugh. But this is the 3rd book, I think, in the Diddley Squat series. They are related to the TV series a little bit, because they do talk about what happens on the farm in the seasons. So the book is split into 4 seasons, and then because it's the newspaper columns that Jeremy Clarkson was writing at the time, they are really short, sharp chapters, which is actually really handy, because I don't like to leave a book mid-chapter when I put it down. So it's quite nice to have a something with short, sharp chapters, so I can literally just keep going. Yeah. So I've really quite enjoyed even though, as I say, it is the same as the TV series, so you kind of know where it's going, but that still makes it a really enjoyable read. I've really enjoyed it, and to be honest, every time he brings a book out, I probably will be reading it if it's farming related anyway, because I've got quite into the farming programmes. I'm currently watching the Fletcher's Family Farm, which is the chap who used to be in Emmerdale, and at the moment I'm watching that and how he gets on with farming. So I've kind of got into these farming programmes, probably a little bit too much, but you know, each to their own in life. You know, we're all in different phases, and if that's what I'm watching at the moment, that's what we're watching at the moment. I'm enjoying it, so it's all good. So looking at the square that I've done this time, so the colour scheme, there's an awful lot of colours on the front of this cover. So I've done a sandy sort of yellowy brown for the middle, and then that is like the pathway that's on the front of the book. And then this green is sort of like a spring green. I think it might be a bit limey, but it's not quite that colour. That is, I think that came from my temperature blanket or my temperature scarf that I did a few years ago. but that's the grass in the field. Yeah, I did decide one year to do a temperature scarf, but I just found that the temperature outside, it was another thing that I was having to look up every day, and it's not something that I naturally look at. It's not something I naturally look for. So unlike with my reading, I do naturally I do read, obviously, and I do journal my reading, so it's almost like tracking my pages read and my hours listened to, I'm doing anyway. So it's not like, and it does mean that the blanket will have a lot more meaning, because it will be my 2025 reading journey, which I'm trying to work out if I can get a label on Etsy, so I can have a label that says that it's my 2025 reading journey, or I'll work out how to try and make my own, but I don't know if I'm going to have time, but I'll keep you posted with how that goes. So yeah, so that's what that green is for. But I mean, that's where I've been gifted yarn before. I've been given things. It's sort of odd bits that are left over from projects that I've finished, and I've got bits left over. And I think now's the time. You don't want to get rid of it, but you kind of want to use it up, and that's kind of where I'm at the moment. The only downside is that it is going to mean that at some point this year I'm probably going to be choosing books by the colour of the cover. So at the moment I'm looking for books that are pink. Anything that's pink or yellow, I'm on the hunt for. Oh, I've just changed colour. So this green is for the trees and the hedges. So I have set myself some ground rules on this, choosing books by the colour of the cover. If I'm going to read it, even if it's pink, it has to be something that I would have wanted to read anyway. I don't want to find that I'm reading all these books that I would never have read in a million years just because the cover is pink, because that kind of isn't the point. I feel like I want to read things that I want to read, and if that means they don't quite fit in with the colour scheme, then it is what it is, and I'll have loads of pink and yellow yarn left over at the end of the year. But yeah, the idea is that if I wouldn't have picked it up in a month of Sundays and it doesn't interest me, I'm not going to suddenly start reading all these books that, if it's not going to interest me, it's not going to interest me. So I'm just going to, if I'm going to end up DNFing them or not enjoying it as much. So to be brutally honest, I have got to enjoy what I'm reading as well, ideally. So yeah, I'm looking for pink books, ironically fantasy books, which I think they're quite few and far between, to be honest, because most of them are black. But, you know, I live in hope. I think there's a Stephanie Garber, which is, has got a pink cover. So I'm going to be ordering that in, and I've got everybody on the lookout for books that are pink and yellow. I've looked through my TBR and my read and get rid of pile. Unfortunately, not many of them are pink and not many of them are yellow. So that's a little bit unfortunate. Some of the Sabrina Teenage Witch books are pink though. So happy days. That means I'll get rid of those and get those sorted. So yeah, I've kind of left Jeremy Clarkson on the side. But I think I'd said most of what I wanted to say about Jeremy Clarkson anyway. I'm sure there'll be a full series of Clarkson's Farm, and I will be signing up to read that, or watch that. So we're going to go on to white now, because the writing on the front of the Jeremy Clarkson book is white, and so are the clouds, so I figured it kind of worked really well. So I do apologise that you've not had very many videos from me in the last week. I've had a cold, and ever since COVID, colds seem to floor me more than they ever did before. So I've literally just been trying to do the minimum that I can, which is why I haven't done an awful lot of reading, and I haven't done an awful lot of video making or crocheting. So the idea is that I'm going to try and catch up. So you may find there might be a slight influx of videos over the next couple of weeks where I catch up with all my January wrap-ups. So I've got my pages read / hours listened to part of the blanket to do. I've done it. I just need to put a voiceover over it, and no one needed to hear what I sounded like 2 or 3 days ago. There's a time and a place, and that isn't it. So yes, we've got that coming up, and my book journal for January, and then my TBR for February, which I've already got written down and I've already got it filmed. I just need to literally just get to the point where I've finished editing it. So we've got all of that coming up over the next few weeks. I'm going to change my schedule slightly, my upload schedule. On Mondays, you're generally going to get a crocheting video, so that's going to be my squares, so my book squares, because what I've done is I've literally managed to put the books into twos. I feel like 2 squares is long enough because my videos tend to get quite long otherwise, and I try and keep them, I say short and sharp, I try and keep them as short as I can. So I'm putting them into into twos, and then I'm doing 2 squares a week for you. So they'll come out on a Monday, and then my usual schedule is Wednesday and Friday, and then that will be a differing book depending on what I am planning to schedule. So that could be a book journaling video, it could be plan with me for March, it could be crocheting. I'm trying to spread it out though, so you don't get too many crocheting videos all in one go, so that you do get a little bit of everything, because I know not everyone's here for the crocheting and not everyone's here for the journaling and all that malarkey. So I'm trying to spread it out a little bit so we actually have a little bit of difference. So we're moving on to the last round of this square now, and that is light blue. This is another one that I think came off my temperature blanket, which is like spare leftovers, and this is the blue for the sky. What I'm going to do is I'm going to block all these squares. That might be that will be a separate video. I'm going to block the squares, but I'm also going to randomise them, so they're not going to go round the blanket in order, purely because a lot of my books have got the same colours at the moment, and I kind of want to spread them out as to how they look nicest rather than having to be in any order. So what will happen is I will mark these what I'll do is I'll block them, and then I'm going to safety pin a note on them as to which book they are, just because it'll be really interesting to look back in December and January of next year to see, what I read a year ago and what the square was that came out of it when I come to working out where they're all going to be. So yes, I'm going to pin a name on them, and then I'm going to pop them all in a box nice and safe so that they are ready for the latter part of the year, because the middle, we're not going to finish the middle of the blanket till December. So this time next January we'll be putting these squares around the outside. God, that's a scary thought, to think that, we're starting this, we're finishing it in a year's time. I've managed to keep my channel going for a year, so I'm sure I can keep a crochet blanket going for a year as well. So I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. If you've got any ideas for books that I could read, then feel free to pop them down in the comments, because I'm always looking for suggestions. The more colourful the covers at the moment, the better. Well, unless it's pink or yellow. If you can think of a pink or a yellow book, go for it. If you like what you see, then please feel free to like, subscribe, do the YouTubey things if you want to. And yeah, I realised I probably should have said that a lot earlier, but never mind. At the end of the day, it's all about the books. We're here for the books, we're here for the crafting. It is what it is. And, we're here to enjoy it. But yeah, if anyone has any good book recommendations, not that I really need to add to my TBR pile, but sometimes the best recommendations have been the most enjoyable books, or at least that's what I found last year. So yeah, feel free to recommend. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, you can find me on social media, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care.